one friend of mine who travels a lot between Paris, New York, and London was commenting that it seems to him prices are about the same in all three cities now. If it costs $100 in New York, it's 100 euros in Paris and 100 pounds in London.
Has it been a failure of government policy to do something about the decline in value of the dollar?
The government is not sure it wants to do something about it. It will help our, presumably it will help our trade deficit, and to some extent it is helping our trade deficit, though we got a very large deficit number today, largely because of oil. Whether you see a low currency as a sign of failure or not, depends very much on your perspective. If you're an exporter, it doesn't seem bad at all. Unfortunately, the position we're in right now is that the dollar is tumbling against the euro and to some extent the British pound. But that's not our problem trading partner. Against China, we have a managed float managed by the Chinese who are allowing a small depreciation of the dollar every year.
Not nearly as much as we want them to.
Well, not nearly as much as would be necessary to do something about the deficit. And I'm not sure it would do something about the deficit anytime soon. I mean, next time you're in Walmart, walk around and tell yourself, I'm only going to buy products that were not made in China. And see how much you can fill your shopping cart with. In some sections, it's going to be really hard.
I do think
that's it, $20 billion of stuff comes in.
I think if we just focus for a moment on the U.S. versus Europe, you did have over the second half of 2007 a wild decline in short-term interest rates in the U.S. Not from the Fed, but in the marketplace. Two-year Treasuries fell from 5% to about 2.75. What that was a statement from Wall Street saying we are confident that short-term interest rates controlled by the Fed are going to fall dramatically in 2008. Okay? So my feeling is that was not only embedded into Treasury yields, but it's embedded in the dollar. The dollar knows that the Fed is going to ease big. The only people who didn't know were the Fed, were at the Fed. Conversely, in Europe, short-term interest rates held relatively steady. And if you believe our weakness is going to infect to some degree Europe, and they're going to have to lower, I think the surprise this year could be that they're easing too. And I don't think the dollar's going to have a big move down versus the euro. It's supposed to go down a lot versus Asia, but as Floyd points out,
go ahead.
It's captive to Chinese.
Yeah. Are we assuming the stock markets will go down in 2008 simply because of all the things we've been talking about?
Well, it's going to go down for a part of 2008. Now, again, the banks are down about 35%. The retailers are down about 35%. Don't look at the S&P. The markets has already made a meaningful move in the direction of this isn't working out.
Two things I want to. One is the price of oil. It made it to 100. Nobody that I know would have guessed that 2 years ago.
No, I don't think so.
$100 a barrel.
Yeah. On the other hand,
can we live with $100 a barrel?
On the other hand, 20 years ago, actually 28 years ago, $100 barrel forecasts were widespread.
Yeah.
Back in 1980, when oil was going to the moon, and we knew it would continue. To get these commodity prices down, and by the way, you would have done better in wheat futures than in oil futures last year. To get these commodity prices,
wheat went way the hell up.
Wheat's gone up to the moon. In fact, there was a story this week that in Kansas, the police are confronting a problem they've never had before, which is people stealing wheat from grain elevators by the truckload. These things don't have much security. They never thought they needed it.
There's gold in them. There's silos.
Indeed, there is.
What's the number in terms of what the Iraqi war, Afghan and Iraq, have cost us?
I've seen...
how much money have we spent?
People have thrown around a number of $1 trillion.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
and I haven't studied that number to know what you include. It's clearly huge. They've made efforts to not make it easy to add it up. Yeah. But it's been very expensive, and there's no particular sign it's going to end anytime soon.
Thank you for coming. Glad to have you here. Thank you again.
Great
to see you. We'll be back. Stay with us. On the next Charlie Rose Kendall letter, the New Yorker magazine talks about Google and the world of search and how they're changing our world. Philip